So my thoughts on the Circuit of America's track. Well, firstly, I have to say it looks very impressive, to say the least. Certainly a fast-flowing track, and we already know that Jerome D'Ambrosio in his Lotus has already been around the track, and he's had a lot of good things to say about it. There's similarities with the Beckett's and Maggots complex at Silverstone. Also comparisons with the circuit in Turkey. We all know about turn 8 having a long bend, a long right-hand bend. Something similar like that is on the Circuit of Americas, and I can certainly see this being a track that the drivers will love. And Jerome D'Ambrosio has already said that he believes that this is a circuit that the drivers will fall in love with. But I'm very much looking forward to turn 1 during the race. I can certainly see there being some incidents there, and potentially the title could be won or lost in that first corner. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens on the opening lap at the first corner. But yeah, I think the circuit itself, I think it's a great one, and I certainly think the drivers will love it. So should HRT be in Formula 1? Well, the more Formula 1 cars there are on the grid, the better. So yeah, I do think HRT should be in Formula 1. But there is a big but here. HRT have been underperforming since they've been in the sport. They haven't exactly been able to make inroads into getting close to Caterham or even the midfield teams. You could argue that HRT don't have the finances compared to the likes of Red Bull and McLaren, and they don't. And let's be honest with you, HRT don't have the money to compete with the big teams. But I should think that by now they should have been at least challenging Caterham. So HRT, it's been a real struggle for them, and we know that they've been put up for sale this week. And if they have more investment, the better. And they do need investment, because you look at their car and there aren't many sponsors, and the more investment HRT have, the better. So to answer your question, Lily, I think HRT should be in Formula 1. However, they do need investment, and they need more money to go forward, and they need to improve big time. So can Sauber catch Mercedes for 5th place in the Constructors? Honestly, I can see Sauber overtaking Mercedes. I really can. And Sergio Perez and Kamui Kobayashi have done a great job for Sauber this season. Mercedes haven't scored a point since the Singapore Grand Prix, and had Sauber been in the points more often, I think that by now they could have overtaken Mercedes. But it's only a 12-point gap, and 12 points, as we know, is not much. So it only takes one big result for Sauber and one poor result for Mercedes, and Sauber will then find themselves in 5th place in the Constructors. But yeah, I can see Mercedes falling behind Sauber in the Constructors, and it would be a great story, wouldn't it, if Sauber were to finish 5th. Perez, as we know, has finished on the podium 3 times this year. Kobayashi has at times struggled, but nonetheless he's put in some really strong results. So to answer your question, yeah, I do think Sauber can finish ahead of Mercedes in the Constructors. So what will the driver lineup be at Caterham next season? For me, I think it's difficult to say at the moment. We know that Vitaly Petrov is struggling to find new backing from Russian investors. Obviously, Vitaly will want to be in sport, because the Russian Grand Prix will be coming up, I think it's next season or 2014, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, Vitaly will definitely want to be in Formula 1 when it comes to his home race in Russia. Heikki, I think Kovalainen's done a really good job at Caterham, but we know, I think he'd be up for a new challenge. And would he be interested in the vacancy at Force India? I think he would be. So I think Heikki might well consider his options. Charles Peake's been linked with a move to Caterham. I think Charles has done a super job at Marussia alongside Timo Glock, and if Max Chilton does replace Charles at Marussia, then maybe there's a seat at Caterham for Charles. And also Guido van der Garde has been testing with the team. He also participated in the Young Drivers Test at Abu Dhabi for Caterham, I think it was. So I think there are 4 drivers that Caterham have to consider for next season. That's Vitali, Heikki, Giardo and Charles Peak. In terms of who I would go for, you need at least one experienced driver and one young driver. So for me, I'd go for Kovalainen and Charles Peak as a driver lineup for Caterham next season. However, if Vitali is able to find funding from Russian investors, then I think Vitali will keep his seat at Caterham for next season. So I'm not entirely sure what the driver lineup will be at Caterham, but I would say, if I was a team principal, then I would have Kovalainen and Charles Peak as my driver lineup at Caterham in 2013. So which team has disappointed me this season? Well, for me there's only one team that's disappointed me, and that's Mercedes. I think that they struggled to push on since Nico Rosberg's victory at China. They have been too inconsistent, they've been out of the points too often, and I said earlier that they haven't scored a point since the Singapore Grand Prix. So Mercedes have really struggled, although I felt really sorry for Michael Schumacher this year. The majority of retirement hasn't been his fault. But yeah, Mercedes has been a real disappointment this year, and I would have thought this would have been the year where they could have challenged the big boys, and especially after winning in China as well. I really thought that, you know what, this could be the Mercedes time for them to push on and, you know, challenge the big boys on a regular basis, but they haven't done that. So they're the team that have disappointed me. In the first half of the season, I have to say Toro Rosso also disappointed me. They weren't challenging the midfield teams, so your Salvage, your Force Indies, the Williams, and they were the team just above the 3 new teams. However, in the second half, give them credit, Toro Rosso have certainly come on strong. Both Ricciardo and Verne have put in some good performances. So yeah, I think Toro Rosso have improved, and I think they certainly have had a much better second half of the season. But the team that has disappointed me in 2012 is Mercedes. Oh, Liam, man, what a question, eh? Does Jenson Button have a daft haircut? To be honest with you, it's not the worst haircut I've seen. I've seen a lot worse hairstyles. But having said that, it's not about how you look. It's about how you perform on the track, and it's about getting results. Formula One is a results business, and although McLaren haven't been as strong as they could have been, Jenson hasn't done a bad job at McLaren. But yeah, so Jenson, I don't think he has the worst haircut. Although I'm sure Jessica, his girlfriend, might want to give him some tips on how he can improve his haircut or hairstyle. But yeah, I don't think it's the worst haircut, Liam, that Jenson has. And I've seen far worse hairstyles, so that was I certainly wasn't expecting that question, Liam. And that's the beauty of Ask Manish. You can ask me absolutely anything Formula One related, so do keep your questions coming in to @Baggies20 on Twitter, and I look forward to reading them. But for now, cheerio.